we developed this model in 2005, came back to CDC and said, we have a great model. And they looked at it and they said, well, prove it. And so what they did is they gave us, and that was very kind of them, they gave us the Verb ads. So Verb was a campaign to encourage kids to exercise. And it was supposed to be voluntary, so it wasn't the formal gym classes that they have in school, but just, everyday after-school activities that had some sort of built-in physical movement. And Verb, the verb to move, was supposed to encourage kids to exercise so that we could reduce these big problems we have with sedentary behavior, weight gain, as well as, maybe even poor nutrition in school. So it was supposed to compensate for that. It was a nationwide campaign. They had multiple TV ads. It was multiple years. The Verb campaign was over 3 years. And that's right, 3-year period. And they also had posters, they had products, like they had this beautiful orange-yellow ball with Verb written on it, and so they had lots of different, what we would call marketing materials. And this is reality, right? So it's not the lab, multiple formats for health communication, lots of, presentations from coaches and teachers, in addition to the TV advertising. So it was a challenge. We were a little bit scared. We've developed this model based on this data that was much more restrictive. Let's see how well it works. So we took all the ads, and I'll talk about the TV ads for now, and they were 4, 4, and 2. So they had lots of different athletes, celebrities, professional celebrities, as spokespeople for these ads. So, for example, you had Venus Williams in one of the ads, and that was the general campaign. And they gave us the ads, and then what I did is trained some what we call coders. These are our lifesavers, really. They took the ads and they coded them according to the variables in the model. So what does that mean? So for example, the model includes these 6 message tactics. And so they had to code things like, is the ad directed at the benefits of you exercising, or is it directed at, if you exercise, what good it does for others? So for example, it could be, exercise because it's good for you, or exercise so you can be a role model for your younger siblings, right? And so they coded all kinds of variables like this that were represented in the model. And then what we did was, we say there were 10 ads, we plotted how well each ad would do. So we ranked all the ads from 1 to 10, 10 being this is the best ad, 1 being this, according to the model, has the lowest score. And then what CDC did is they matched our predictions, best ad, worst ad, and everything in between, to the data that they had. And they had survey data from the kids themselves in terms of, have you seen the ad? So they knew whether the kids had seen any of those 10 ads, and of course, multiple versions of them. Second, they also knew whether their attitudes, their intentions, and their actual exercise behavior. So they asked, how much did you exercise outside of school yesterday, in the last 3 days, in the last week, etc. They also had data from parents, which is really, really cool, because often you don't have such incredible, exhaustive data. And this was an incredible study where they collected all this information and in some ways enabled CDC then to independently assess the effectiveness of these ads without the model. So CDC came up with their estimates. So for, what they did was they said for each ad exposure, for say you're a kid, you saw the ad, right? Versus another kid who didn't see an ad, who exercised more, right? And if this message was supposed to be effective, right? If it was effective, the one who saw the ad should exercise more than the person who didn't. So that was one. They also checked, before and after, sort of, okay, before you saw the ad, how much were you exercising, say, and on a weekly basis, twice a week, 3 times a week. After you saw the ad, how much were you exercising? So it was kind of interesting to look both within kid and family and across kids and families. So it was fascinating because they had their own ranking of how well the ads did. We had our ranking based on the model predictions. We didn't have any of that data, right? I mean, we didn't know what the parents said, what the kids said, et cetera, when we did the ranking for the ads using the model. And then what we did was we saw how much overlap there was. So if we said this is the best ad and this is the worst ad, did they independently also say this is the best ad and this is the worst ad, right? And because there was so much overlap between the model predictions and their independent data from the families and the kids themselves, we felt that this would be a good model to adopt. That, this was, said something about the predictive validity of the model, but it also gave us some assurance that, that the model would capture health communication effectiveness in a more realistic setting.